Hello, kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. This is the project we're doing this week. We are going to learn about a really neat artist. His name was Keith Haring, and he drew these shape people. They were just simple shapes that look like people, but he would use lines to show motion, meaning he wanted the people to look like they were moving. And that's what we're learning about this week, is how we can take lines and use them to make it look like there's motion or that it's moving. And we're also going to read a really neat book. It's one of my favorites. I feel like I say that every week though, but I have a lot of favorite books. And it's called The Boy Who Just Kept Drawing. And it's about Keith Haring, the artist we're going to learn about this week, okay? So on the next screen, I'm going to show you all the supplies you need. Gather them, get them all together. We'll read the book, and then we'll get started on our project. Keith Haring, The Boy Who Just Kept Drawing, by K.A. Haring, and illustrated by Robert Newbecker. And K.A. Haring, by the way, was Keith's sister. So his sister wrote this book about her brother. Keith Haring, The Boy Who Just Kept Drawing. There was a boy named Keith. When he was little, his father taught him how to draw dogs and fish and funny things. His dad would draw a line, then Keith would draw one. Soon the whole page would be full. From that time on, Keith never stopped drawing. In elementary school, while taking tests, Keith doodled on the edge of his paper. When he handed in his work, his teacher would ask, "Why did you doodle on this important paper?" Keith didn't answer. He went back to his desk and just kept drawing. Sometimes Keith invited his friends to draw in his backyard clubhouse. Keith made symbols and said each one represented a letter of the alphabet. His friends asked, "Why do you use symbols to write?" Keith drew more symbols. It was his way of answering their question, and he encouraged his friends to join him. As a teenager, Keith liked to draw in his bedroom with music playing really loud. He would draw on every piece of paper he could find. His mother had to yell over the music, "Why can't you turn that music down and go outside and ride your bike?" But Keith had sold his bike to buy art supplies. So he answered, "Look at the cool drawings I did." And he just kept drawing. When Keith was in high school, he won first prize for his art. A successful couple in town offered to buy his drawing. Keith said, "No, thank you. If you enjoy my art, you may hang it on your wall. No charge." Keith's sisters were shocked. "Why didn't you take the money?" they asked. Keith shrugged. He just wanted to keep drawing. Keith graduated from high school and went to the big city of Pittsburgh to a school that would teach him about art. There were boys on the street trying something new, break dancing. He liked the crazy shapes of their bodies as they turned and flipped on the ground. And while the music played loud, Keith started drawing wiggly lines. His teachers asked him, "Why are you drawing pictures that look like scrambled bodies? This was not what we told you to draw." Keith knew how to draw. He just wanted to draw in different ways. And he kept drawing. Keith moved to the huge city in New York when he was 20, so he could draw with other artists. He started to draw all over the city, on walls, on sidewalks, and on paper that he hung on lampposts. His drawings were washed away by the rain or torn down by street cleaners. Other artists asked Keith, "Why do you draw in places where your pictures are erased?" Keith didn't hear them. He was searching for another wall so he could keep drawing. Keith got a job delivering packages and sometimes rode the subway. One day he saw a panel of blank paper in the station. He rushed outside to buy chalk and came back and began to draw. The white chalk made bright, smooth lines on the black paper, and day after day Keith filled the empty panels in the subway stations with art. Soon people who rode the subway were looking for the white chalk drawings. No one knew the name of the artist, but his drawings were easy to recognize. People asked him, "Why are you drawing here? What do your pictures mean?" Keith said, "What do you see? You decide what they mean." Where Keith lived, there was trash on the street, and people didn't always say hello to each other. So one day he and his friends cleaned up 20 bags of garbage in front of a long wall. And then Keith painted square faces with smiles and body shapes dancing upside down. The neighbors liked the drawings and stopped to say thank you. A policeman came by and lectured Keith. "Why did you do this? I have to give you a ticket because you didn't get permission." Keith paid the fine and just kept drawing. Soon people wanted to see more of Keith's drawings, and he was asked to display his work in an art gallery. Art was hung from floor to ceiling, and in between he painted the walls. Keith invited everyone to come and enjoy his art. All of Keith's artwork sold, and the gallery owner asked him, "What are you going to do with all this money?" Keith said, "I read in the newspaper that there are kids who don't have enough to eat. I didn't have this money yesterday and I was happy. If I don't have it tomorrow, I'll still be happy. And all children need to eat. I'll send the money to them." The gallery owner gasped, "Why?" Keith just smiled and started to draw again. Now people were inviting Keith to draw in famous museums and exhibit in galleries all over the world. He was proud that he had become a successful artist, but wherever he went, Keith insisted he paint a mural so everyone could enjoy his work, not just the people who had money to buy it. During a visit to Paris, France, Keith painted on the outside of a children's hospital, 6 stories high. Newspaper reporters came to take pictures and asked, "Why did you paint at the hospital? Do you think it'll make the sick children feel better?" Keith didn't have time to answer. He had to finish the painting. When the Statue of Liberty was 100 years old, Keith drew an outline of the famous statue on a huge piece of vinyl fabric. He asked 900 kids to help him finish the drawing. Keith told them, "Draw anything, whatever you want. No one can say it's good or bad because it's yours." When the gigantic painting was displayed, people were amazed to see what Keith and the kids had made. But the art critics couldn't understand why a famous artist was drawing with kids. But you know Keith, he just kept drawing. Keith painted all over the world. He would draw on anything, anytime, anywhere. And wherever he went and whatever he did, he would not stop. He just kept drawing. Now everyone wanted to know, and together they shouted, "Why? Why do you draw all the time? Why do you give your artwork away? Why do you draw on buildings, on people, on clothing, on furniture, on subway walls, on cars, on skateboards, on walls that belong to no one, and on things to be thrown away? Why do you draw on everything?" Keith stopped drawing just for a moment and answered, "I draw all the time because there are many places to fill. I give my drawings away to help make the world a better place. I draw everywhere because everyone needs art." And then Keith turned back to the street, took a piece of chalk from his pocket, and just kept drawing. The end. And these are some pictures. This was Keith Haring when he was a little boy, when he was 12. This is another picture of him when he was 14. This is a picture of him with his mom and his sisters, I believe. Or actually, there may be 3 sisters. And this is his sister, the one that wrote this book, when she was 2, and that's him when he was 4. And then here's their whole family. Yeah, so he had 3 sisters, and then there was him and his mom and his dad. So those of you that go to the Innovative Learning Academy, we have this book in our library, and so you can check it out from Miss BF. It's a really neat book. Here you have a little more about Keith Haring if you're interested and want to read. And then back here they have pictures of some of his real artwork. So Keith Haring is one of my absolute favorite artists, and he's probably in my top 3, definitely 5 favorite artists, and it's a really neat book, so I highly recommend it. Okay, so for this project you're going to need a pencil, an eraser, piece of paper, and it's just a normal size piece of paper, black Sharpie if you have one. As always, if you don't, you can always use a regular black marker or a black crayon. And then speaking of crayons and markers, you will also need crayons and markers. If you only have one or the other, it's okay, you can make it work, but it is best if you have both. So hit pause, get all your art supplies together, and let's get started. Okay, so we are starting out where our paper is laying down on its side, so it's short and it's wide. I mean, you could do it going up and down, but you would have to draw your people really tall and thin, and that wouldn't work very well. So I strongly encourage you to do it like this, where you have it short and wide. Okay, and we are going to draw some stick figures. You can draw either 3 stick figures, or you can draw 2 stick figures. Okay, now depending on what you choose, if I only draw 2 stick figures, how do I need to draw differently than the people that are doing 3? What do I need to do differently when I'm drawing? Yes, you need to draw bigger so you'll fill up the paper. Okay, now I am going to do 3. I'm going to do a big one in the middle, and then I'm going to do 2 smaller ones on the side. Okay, you don't have to do yours exactly like mine. You could follow along and make yours exactly like mine if you want, or you could kind of follow along and change yours a little bit, okay? As long as you're still doing the same project. It doesn't have to look the same as mine, but let's do the same project. Okay, so starting in the middle with my pencil, I'm going to draw a stick figure that is standing up. Now remember the rule to draw light till you know you have it right, and that'll make your life so much easier if you have to erase. Okay, so I'm going to start off right here in the middle. I'm going to kind of practice with my finger first. I know I'm going to draw a head and a body and some legs and arms, so I know it's going to be right about here. So since I'm practicing with my finger, I can kind of imagine the size that I'm going to make it. So first I'm going to draw the head, and the head's kind of in between a circle and an oval. Notice I'm drawing it kind of sketchy, definitely light. Okay, then I'm going to draw the stick for the body. Okay, and I'm drawing it kind of long, not too long. It looks like a balloon with a string right now. All right, now I'm going to begin to draw the legs. Now the legs are going to be in 2 parts, so they can kind of be bent. This is like the first part, and then the second part. So it's kind of like he's running. Woohoo! All right, now we're going to have the arms, and they're going to be 2 parts also. Maybe he's trying to catch something. This needs to be a little longer, and this one needs to be a little shorter. All right. Okay, now I'm going to draw another stick figure over here. This one's going to be a little smaller, and this one's going to be a little more of a normal kind of pose. I've got the head, and again, especially for our younger friends, it does not have to be perfect. Look at that. Just 2 arms, 2 lines for the arms, 2 lines for the legs, 1 for the body, and a circle for the head. So there's our other one. Okay. And now I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do this one a little higher, like he's jumping. But it's going to work the same. I'm going to have the head. I'm going to have the body, which I made a little too long. And then we got the feet. Or not the feet, legs. And then the arms. All right. And I'll show you in a minute how we're going to make it look like he's jumping. Okay? So the cool thing about Keith Haring is his people that he makes, like you saw in the book, they're basically stick figures that are just turned into shapes. So I'm going to show you how to do that part next. Okay, so I'm going to take my pencil and I am going to trace outside of my stick figure with curved lines, kind of like a little gingerbread man, if you know what that is. See how I'm outlining him? I'm just going around the stick figure. So he's thicker and he's rounder. Look at that. And then I'm going to do the same thing for his little friend over here. I'm just tracing around the outside of the stick figure using curved lines to make it thicker. And then one more here. Don't worry, I will show you how to make it look like that one's jumping. Look at that. How cool is that? All right, so now we have 3 of our Keith Haring figures. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take either a Sharpie, a black marker, or a black crayon, and we are going to trace over our outlines. We are not, I repeat, we are not going to trace over our stick figures, because our stick figures are going to be erased and disappear in a few minutes. So we're only tracing around the outside. Okay, so watch Miss Thompson first. See how I'm tracing over my pencil lines? And again, I did not trace over the stick figure, and I'm not going to. I'm going to go over to his friend next door. All right, and their buddy over here. And again, I'm not tracing over any of the stick figures. All right, it's looking good so far. You may think it looks a little strange right now, but just bear with me here. All right, so now I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to erase all the pencil. If there's any pencil peeking out behind the Sharpie, I'm going to erase it. The original stick figure that we drew, all 3 of them, or 2 of them, depending on how many you did, we're going to erase those. Okay, so if you want, I'm going to fast forward to finish erasing. You can hit pause and then come back and hit play again when you're done erasing all of the pencil. Okay, so there you go. No pencil to be found. We just have our 3 people shapes, or Keith Haring shapes. Now, I want to show you a picture in the book. This is from one of Keith Haring's paintings. But see these little lines that he would put all around the people? Those are lines to show motion. That means it's showing that they are moving. It's showing that this guy is running and waving his arms, and this guy is maybe jumping a little and running, and this guy's running this way. You can tell these things because of these little lines that are outside of the bodies. And same here. This makes it look like this picture is radiating, meaning like almost like it's shooting out light. Okay, so we're going to do that with our little Keith Haring people. So remember this guy over here that I said we're going to make it look like he's jumping? The way we're going to do that is we are going to draw some lines like he's jumping up there. You can see it's like he's boing, going up. And we can do little movement lines going outside So you know his hands are moving, his legs are moving, his head is moving. He's moving. Same thing with this guy. Remember, he's running. So we're going to do some lines to show he's moving. You can do them different numbers. Don't do them all the same length and all in same group numbers, you know. Mix it up a little bit. This guy, we're going to pretend he's just waving his arms a little more. He's not running quite as fast as the other two guys. He's obviously not being still. All right, so now we have our movement lines. Because again, lines can make it look like your picture is moving, or at least it helps you understand that it's supposed to be moving. Okay, now we're ready to add some color. Okay, so we have our markers and we have our crayons. And we are going to color our three people, and we're also going to color the space behind them. That's called the background. Now, what part of our picture do you think is more important? Do you think the people are the most important? Or do you think the background, the space behind them, is more important? I think the people are the most important, because that's what the picture is about. It's about the people. Because if they weren't here and it was just an empty piece of paper, it wouldn't be very interesting. Okay, so if the people are the most important and the background is not as important, do I want to color my people with markers, or do I want to color them with crayons? Okay, I hope that you said markers, because the markers are bolder and darker and they stand out more, so that will help you notice the people more. Okay, so I'm going to start with a pink one. You can of course choose your color, and I am going to color in my people. I'm going to actually do 3 different colors to color them, and I'm going to color them in. I am going to fast forward to color my 3 people. You can hit the pause button and color your 3 people. And again, if you have markers, color the inside of your people with markers, but don't scribble. Take your time and cover all the white space and do your best work to make it look neat. Okay, and hopefully your markers are still in good enough shape. They're not drying out. Mine, I can already tell, are on the verge of drying out. Okay, so hit pause to finish coloring yours, and we'll meet back here when we have both finished. Okay, so now that we have colored our people with markers, hopefully you covered all the white space and did your best work. We are going to color the background, or the space behind our people, with crayons. Now you can choose any color you want. There's no restrictions or limits here. You could choose one color and color the whole background that one color. You could choose 2 colors and do half of it one color, half of it the other color, or you could do in 3 sections. You can color it any way you want. The only thing I don't want you doing is scribbling or rushing. Again, I want you to do your best work, color in one direction, and cover all the white. Where you have the little black lines, you're just going to color right on top of them. Okay, so I decided that I am going to make my background kind of like rainbow colors. I'm going to do red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. Okay, so I got them in order. I'm going to start with the red. Now I'm turning my paper over to the side because I'm going to do it in stripes like this. Okay, and it's a little easier for me to do if it's on its side. But that's just what feels more comfortable for Miss Thompson. You don't have to do it the same way. But notice how I'm coloring right to the edge here. I'm coloring soft. I'm coloring in the same direction. And I don't have a perfectly straight edge there, and that's okay. You'll see why in a few minutes. Okay, and I'm going to fast forward to finish coloring this red stripe. So you keep watching. Right now you're just watching. Okay, so I finished my red stripe. It goes side to side, but I colored up and down. And again, I have kind of a jagged edge here, but you're about to find out why. Next, I'm going to take my orange and I'm going to color the same way, but the orange is going to go right to the red, and they're going to almost blend together like your fingers can do when they mix together. So there's not going to be any white in between the red and the orange. Instead, they match up and meet right there together. See how I'm doing that? And now obviously when you come to the person, like I color right to the person, I pick up my crayon and I go to the other side. One of the other art teachers, she calls that teleporting. So it's kind of like I'm teleporting here. You don't color on top of your people with your background colors. Oops, I accidentally got on his leg there, but that's okay. Look at that. I'm going all the way across. And again, the orange goes right to the red. They touch each other. They don't overlap, but they touch each other. There's no white space in between. And I go all the way across. Okay? Now, I'm going to do yellow because that's the next color in the rainbow. Same thing, the yellow goes right to the orange and it touches, but it doesn't leave any empty space in between. Okay, and then I gotta get the light back on, so hang on one second. I'm gonna pause. Okay, sorry about that. If I'm sitting at my desk, the light turns off because it doesn't know anyone's in here. All right, so anyway, my yellow is touching the orange, like you can see there, and it would continue across in the rainbow order. You have red, orange, yellow, then it would be green, and I would do that all the way across, and then blue, and then violet. And again, pretend I went all the way across. I will do that in a second. But I accidentally ended up with a little bit of extra space. So what do you think I could do there? You have any ideas? Maybe I could take a different color in my crayon box. Even if it's not in the rainbow, I could still use it. Like maybe, I'm thinking like a turquoise, maybe. Oh, look at that, turquoise blue. So I'm going to use that on my rainbow, and I'm going to go ahead and fast forward so you can see what it looks like, and then you can color yours. And there you go. Now I colored my background. Now again, notice how I covered all the white space. All the colors touch each other. My people are colored with markers, and hopefully it's really obvious that they're moving and jumping and running around. So they're your little Keith Haring people with your movement lines, because lines can show movement. And those are part of your building blocks of art. Whenever you make art, most of the time you're using lines, and sometimes you make it look like there's movement. So I can't wait to see your art. I'm really excited about it. Be sure you upload a picture if you want it in the virtual art show. Use the virtual art show submission form, and I look forward to seeing everything. Have a great week.